Hi, I'm Susan Kennard, and welcome to the Spiritual Awakener podcast. This is a podcast where I get to interview really cool people about their lives, about their stories, about their awakenings, and how they help us, the collective. What I want about this podcast is to reach you, to reach that soul part of you that knows that you are so much more than you've ever thought you were, and that we're all here for the same reason to spread our light, to be of assistance in this world. And right now, at this time of incredible awakening, who better than to have on my podcast, The Spiritual Awakener, Mr. Tom Paladino? I'm so excited, Tom, for you to be here, and I can't wait to hear your story and for my audience to hear your story and how you spread your light with the world. So welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you for the gracious invitation. Thank you.
So, Tom, we know your name, but what do you really say to people when they say, that whole elevator speech? What is it that you do?
I am a humanitarian and I want to help the world. It's that simple.
Wow. Yeah. But what I loved about what you just said is not that I want to save the world, but that I want to help the world. And I think there's a big difference between if we want to save the world, which is never, ever our job, is it? No, but to actually assist and help the world. Brilliant. Fantastic. Yeah. So, Tom, we have many experiences in our life that we could call spiritual awakenings or turning points. What do you feel was a significant one for you that's led you to kind of be this incredible light in the world?
When I was a youngster, I knew that we could use scientific knowledge, scientific invention to help mankind. And as a humanitarian, I want to apply scientific knowledge, technology to help mankind. That's what it's all about to me. That's why I became a scalar light researcher. I knew that science, when applied appropriately and in a moral setting, would help mankind advance. And that has been my lifelong goal, to help mankind through the tools of science.
Yeah, absolutely. And being a spiritual scientist myself, that resonates wholeheartedly with me. Not that I use scalar energy, but that I actually am scientifically trained. So I'm very much evidence-based. As much as I talk to my guides and work with source energy and channel it, I'm very scientifically based. So I love that you've come in and that's been your key thing. So what happened? What happened? Because we have these light bulb moments, right?
You're right. The light bulb moment is that even as a youngster, I knew I had to do something with my knowledge. And I had to work for the glory of God and the betterment of humanity. And that's been my lifelong goal. It's been a life well-traveled. It's been a life well-lived. I am happy with my progress. I am happy with my direction. It is, I wouldn't trade it in for anything. So it's a purpose-driven life. It's a life in service. You're correct. It's a life in which we see everybody benefit, not just a few. Everybody's going to benefit by this new technology, scalar light.
Yeah, scalar light. So as a child, would you feel that you kind of had this calling within you and that you knew it? Because sometimes as a child, for me, I don't think I really knew. I think it wasn't until I had my first spiritual awakening, which was around about 27, and in astrology, that's our Saturn return, our first one. And it's like, I don't think I really knew what my true mission was. And that was just the start of it. So what do you feel? When do you feel that turning point was? What do you think? I know you've been in service all your life, but what do you feel it was? Was it a conversation you had with someone? Was it a moment that you got when you were at school, or what was it?
Very good. I think it's a compilation. It's God's movement in my life. I look at the Holy Spirit moving in my life. And I said to myself, even at a young age, I said, how can I help? What can I do? I saw suffering in the world. What can I do to help? I was a normal kid. I played sports, but nonetheless, I had that maturity. I had that emotional and spiritual maturity as a youngster to realize that there's a very deep meaning to life. And those who live life with that deep meaning are satisfied, and they see that they've made their life is one accomplishment after another. And that's not necessarily a monetary accomplishment. That's not for monetary gain. It's the gain for the world. It's to see the world a better place. I've always said that it really is not difficult to live a nice lifestyle, especially in the modern world today. It's not that difficult. And just to pursue money or power is a meaningless life. So my needs are definitely my needs are met. I have a roof over my head. I've got a great wife. I have 3 meals a day. It's not
you have your tummy is nice and full, we would say here in the UK. Absolutely. And mission, I always talk to people about mission, and it when you live your mission, when you live your heart, when you live that you're not working, I feel like I don't work. Like I don't get up in the morning and I don't work. I kind of live who I am and live my mission. And one of the things is doing this podcast. I love doing this and meeting people like you. But essentially, it is about us really, truly being in our source, isn't it? It's being in our divine flow. It's knowing that we can step out of the ego side, as what you were talking about, is like drive for money. Yes, money comes to you as a frequency and an energy because of your frequency. So I feel, and I've noticed, that as people step fully into what they truly love and desire, then the universe opens up frequency-wise to give them what they need to assist them further on that journey to be of service. And that's what I've really noticed. Mission is love, and love is mission, and love is money.
It makes life so much easier, and I know many of the people in the listening audience can resonate with that. Whether you're attached to your family or you're attached to some goal in life, it gives you purpose, and you're happy, and you realize that what you're doing is not only serving yourself, but it's serving others. To me, that's such a sea change, as opposed to people are just narrow-minded and maybe just only solely concentrate on their career.
So from the perspective of the work that you do, say if someone's listening to this and they feel, well, I can't leave this job because, we hear this a lot, right? I can't leave this job because it pays the mortgage on my house, or it puts the roof over, which you're talking about, the roof, the lights on, the warmth, the food. Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Those big needs, which are fundamental. Then how can you help somebody with that? Because I think this is really happening in the world right now, as we know. And rugs are being pulled from under people's feet, and they're like, oh my God, this opportunity, I can't leave my job. I have to go down this directive to keep my job. I'm going with that, right? So I have to do that. But is there another option? And how could you help someone with that?
First and foremost, your job, your daily duty is number one. That's the most important. So make your job your lifestyle. Make your career your lifestyle, in which if you do concentrate on your career, then make sure it's just not about money. Make sure your career involves your entire company. So the point I'm getting at is it's the end all. What is the purpose of your career? If it's to help your company and make your company a better place to work and live, then do that. Then that is going to be your avocation. I have a company here in the United States, and there are people who work with me. And yes, it's my company, but it's also my avocation. So that's the key. The key is not to concentrate ever on money or the bottom line or reputation. The key is to concentrate on your collective. In this case, it's a company. We have to live in the real world.
Like a family, like a family, Tom. Like your
it is a family. It's your corporate family. It's your corporate family. And in no way do I dissuade, or in no way do I disparage that corporate lifestyle. But what am I saying? There's much more than just your career It's your company collective. It's not about you. It's about everybody in your company.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and anyone that, you know, you're working for in any company. So if you're listening to this and you're working for a company, if the company ethos or the reason for creating the company is not in alignment with your truth and your true source, then it's never going to be a match, you know. And this is something that I think, you know, is really important for people to hear, because if you are in that situation, it doesn't mean go and quit your job. And I think it's really important to say that, Tom, right? Because else then it makes you feel like you've got nothing, right? So I never advocate people doing that. But what I'm kind of hearing from you, and the guides are kicking in here, but what I'm hearing from you is that it's finding your joy. So you're finding your joy in service. So perhaps what people can do is stay in their job for now, because that's what they need to do to pay the bills, but find something maybe in their spare time, maybe at the weekend, maybe go on a course, maybe do internal work, which we'll come to in a moment, like our inner journey, changing our frequency. That changes our journey big time. So maybe they can just look at that and just say, is there one thing? Maybe it's charity work, maybe it's serving at an animal shelter, maybe it's helping with children, maybe it's doing that, maybe it's helping old people, maybe it's helping someone, you know, that is less fortunate than themselves. That brings so much joy.
Yes, it does.
So that instantly puts them on a different trajectory of mission, doesn't it?
It does. And that's a good point. And whether it's your career, your church, your social club, if you can help other people around you, then you see a deeper meaning to life. I would think it's just a travesty if people live to work Monday through Friday for a paycheck. And then that really is their life expression. That's a poor life expression. It's what you do with your talent. What am I getting at? Everybody has incredible talent.
Gifts.
And we do. This world is filled with talent, but you just can't pigeonhole yourself to one walk of life, to just your career or to just making money. Absolutely. So when we see people with this expansive view, yes, I want you to be happy in your career, but realize that your career is going to serve the world. That's the bigger picture here. My scientific career is not about me. It's about what I can do in turn for the world. I'm happy with my scientific career, but I can't just stay in a library and just stick to myself and never share my scientific knowledge. I have to share it with the world. And my work as a scientist has the fullest expression when it's incorporated by the world, not when it's controlled by me.
Yeah, and that's why you were, you know, given this incredible insight to bring to the world. And we might say, you know, this was a download for you, that this was your path, this was your journey. Like, you know, everyone has that, but theirs might be different to you and different to me. You know, we all have our own gifts that we were meant to bring in, and you know, if we believe this, we brought it in from many times before, and it was all part of a big fun plan. So how, Tom, people listening to this, they're like, yeah, but what is scalar energy? So could you, not to you scientifically, but if you could just explain it for everyone, including myself, to understand it. So I think I understand it, but just, you know, and so maybe visually, sometimes people are visual, maybe we can kind of visualize it of how it works.
It's simple. Everybody's a scalar energy expert. It's consciousness, or what some cultures call prana, some cultures call it 0-point energy, or Om. It's sunlight or starlight. It's the initial energy of the universe. It's the life force energy that the stars produce. It's that simple. And everybody has seen a star. Everybody experiences sunlight. Everybody is a scalar energy expert.
Yeah. So how would it benefit me? So, okay, I'm listening to this podcast. I'm listening to you in the conversation. How does this benefit me? How does it benefit me to talk to you about it?
Yeah, exactly. So how does it benefit people? That's the whole point of my scientific career. it is to benefit mankind in application. I have instruments, scalar energy instruments that I work with, and I can benefit people. I can benefit their psychic health, their spiritual health. And a scalar energy instrument will access our brain waves or access our 7 chakras. So a scalar energy instrument has the ability to interface with our thinking, our mind, consciousness, our 7 chakras. We see great results when people are treated with this scalar energy instrument.
So I'm coming along and I've got something going on in my life. Maybe it's my relationship, maybe it's my mission, maybe I've got something physically that's showing up. Okay. How does that work for me? How do I get to be, part of this scalar energy, and I want to heal myself?
Okay, so that's the interesting part. So when we work with scalar energy, we work with a person's photograph. This is
Who's
the
that?
new.
Who's that?
This is my photograph. I would actually take my photograph and place it inside an instrument.
But just for the purpose of the podcast, when it goes out, when if you're listening to this on Apple or wherever you're listening to it, just for the purpose of the podcast, Tom held up this really cute picture of a guy, and I said, "Who's that?" Just joking with him, right? Because he's also cute, but
Thank you. That's good. So when I'm working with this energy consciousness, we work through a person's photograph. Meaning what? A photograph carries the consciousness signature or a scalar light signature. So we're working in the quantum realm now. This is beyond physicality. This is non-physical action. So the information imprinted on a photograph is accessed by my instruments. And in so doing, we can access a person's 7 chakras on the photograph and balance those 7 chakras on a photograph.
That sounds so cool. And it also sounds so simple, right?
It is.
So how, obviously I totally trust in this because I work, remotely as well, in lots of ways. So I totally trust the power of energy and light. That's what I do. But if I'm listening to this and I've never I'm starting to spiritually awaken, hence the name of the podcast, and I'm listening to this and I'm like, sure, like looking at a photograph, how is that going to heal me? Right. Yes. So can we just talk a little bit about who we are as a soul? So how we hold that light and how that's really who we are.
So if this is true, then everybody has a consciousness signature. So if I can work and access a person by way of their photograph, obviously I'm not working with people, I'm working with their energetic presence, their force field or their consciousness. And I think the world will eventually embrace the fact that this consciousness is, the mark of God. It's the image of God. It's the light of God. Consciousness. We're entering into a new realm of thought in which we no longer have to be bound by space and time. We're transcending space and time, and we're working with consciousness now, rather than just brick and mortar, rather than just a physical realm.
Physicality,
Exactly. We're beyond the physical realm now. And what you can do in the spirit realm, the non-physical realm, far exceeds what you can accomplish in the physical realm.
Yeah. And some might say, and people may have heard of this, the 3D reality. So the whole, third dimensional reality that we used to be in. We're now, I believe, oscillating between many different timelines that we're stepping and we're oscillating between them. And I think this whole ascension part that's happening to us, that we've been stepped on for a while, this pathway, is showing people that, the old ways of doing things, like, I come from a background of being a psychologist and a psychotherapist. That was my old, and a neuropsychologist as well. And so that was, you spent hours, months, days trawling through and looking at patterns of belief and so on. But now we don't need to do that, do we? We don't need to do that because we've stepped fully into, pretty much stepped fully into the understanding that healing is instant.
Yes.
Instant.
Instantaneous action. Yes.
It's like energy follows thought. And so as soon as, you think something, you create it. Yeah. And it's speeding up more and more. Would you say, Tom? I'd say.
Oh, of course. And that's brilliant. That's brilliant what you said. Energy follows
Yeah.
thought. So what's the point?
Yeah.
We're working at the thought realm or at the spirit realm.
Yeah.
There is obviously a need for the physical realm, but the
Yeah.
spirit realm is much more sublime. The action is instantaneous. It's always guaranteed.
Yeah.
There's no impediment. You cannot put consciousness thought in a box. Consciousness is universal. It transcends time and space. So what do I have with the scalar energy instrument? The mind of God or consciousness at my beck and call with the scalar energy instrument. This is not electricity. It's a new science. And this new science, as a humanitarian, this new science is going to change the world picture.
And I would say it's not a new science. I would say that, and this is how I work. So I work with the multi-dimensional self and work with my guides, and I have galactic crystal healing chambers, which are instant as well. And it's like, I believe that this technology we're bringing in is from times before, and we're just remembering it and bringing it in. And so it could be that, Tom, that you've been you're going to love this, but been a galactic being of light years, from maybe the Pleiades or wherever it might be, and you're bringing this through because it was time for this frequency to remember it. And to help and assist. That may not be part of your, what you believe in. But
let's call it God's perfect timing. The time is now.
I call it that.
Call it what you will. The time is now. Even though this technology has been with us for centuries, now is the time that the world will accept it. Now, call it an awakening of conscious. Call it the new spirit of the world. Call it our renaissance. Many people are seeing that we need new solutions. We have problems. We need new solutions. As a humanitarian, scalar light is going to solve many problems that today are unsolvable.
I totally hear you with that. So how can people get hold of you? How can they do this? And do you have something where somebody could actually try out this technology, like a free gift or something?
Yeah, that's a good point. So we want people to feel comfortable. Anytime you introduce something that's new or esoteric, people have to feel comfortable. So we have a website. Anybody in the world can upload, email us your photograph, and we'll work with you for free for 15 days. I want to work with everybody in the world. I want everybody in the world to experience the scalar energy healing. And how do we do that? Through an emailed photograph. So our website, Scalerlight.com, allow anybody to upload, email us your photograph, include your pets if you want, and we'll work with you for free for 15 days. We'll balance your chakras, we'll create nutrients. We can also have a microbe cleanse. We do that for everybody in the world to prove that there is some merit to this new science of consciousness of scalar light.
Wow. So if you're listening to this, this is like a no-brainer, we would say here in the UK, that you have to give this a go. So go on to, it's Scalerlight. Tell me, Tom, again. Scalerlight.
Scalerlight.com. Yes.
Scalerlight.com. So go over to scalerlight.com and look at the, this option there where you could upload your photograph, whether it's your pet, whether it's you, do they need permission if it's like somebody else in their life? Or
if they're an adult, get their permission, or tell that adult to go to the website. Now, if it's for your children, then you stand as the guardian for your children.
And your pets as well, because they can't kind of go to the website themselves, so we can make that decision, right? But if it was your parents, or if it was, because we always want to kind of help somebody else, but it needs to be their free will, right, that they do it.
Yes.
But exactly. But if you're listening to this and you want someone to be part of that, or you want to be part of that, definitely pop over and do that and just test it out. And then, Tom, is there, can people work with you one-on-one? Are there any programs that you have? What can you tell us about that?
There are approximately 8 different programs we have on the website. What we ask people to do is try it first. This is new. I know it's esoteric. So send in your photograph. After 15 days, you write to us with your questions, and we'll answer your questions. Again, there's no shame here, because this is new. It's groundbreaking. I don't think anybody in the world has this type of instrumentation. So we welcome your input.
Wow. That's like an open invitation to come into Tom's home, literally. You know, he's literally opening his door to you and his team, and saying, look, come and try it out. Like, it's free. You don't have to. The only engagement you have is just to agree to it, right? Your soul agrees to it. Your soul contract, you know, it's like a contract between you and the scalar energy, and just to give it a go. Amazing.
Yes.
So Tom, what kind of because everyone's going to want to hear this, right? So what kind of results do people come back to you with?
Stellar results.
Stellar results. I like that.
We're working at the realm of consciousness, so there's no impediment.
Yeah.
Because when you're working with energy, which is a first cause, energy is fundamental.
Yeah.
I'd say the greater majority of people experience some type of benefit. Why? Yeah. Because scalar energy is nature. It controls nature. And when you're working with light, light does not observe any boundary. Light is perfect. Light never makes a mistake. I work with scalar light. It never makes a mistake. It's perfect, and it always benefits.
So basically, everyone comes back to you and says, I don't know what you've done, but something's shifted. And is that in, you know, the physical, in the relationships, in what kind of subjects do people come to you with? I know it's going to be broad, but for example.
It is broad, but soul, mind, and body experience this scalar light. Remember, scalar light is non-physical, so we can access the soul, mind, and body, and people report spiritual, mental, and physical improvement.
Yeah, wow, amazing. So what would you like to, as a last thing, share with my audience? Is there something that you would like to share?
Everybody has a soul, mind, and body. The soul is composed of scalar energy. The mind is functioning with scalar waves. Thinking is a function of scalar energy. Yeah. Brain waves are scalar waves. And our heart is beating because of a scalar intelligence. So heartbeat are emotions. Our emotions are scalar waves likewise. So the soul, mind, and body are the embodiment of scalar light. Everybody is a scalar light being, soul, mind, and body. So this is not now an esoteric subject anymore. It's very real. It's very relevant. Scalar energy powers, gives expression to our soul, mind, and body.
And so would you say that just you know, following on from that, is that if somebody's listening to this and they're drawn to it, then there will be a soul calling for it. Yes. There will be a resonance. There will be something that is drawing them, definitely to listen to this podcast, but they've been guided somehow, haven't they, yes. Tom? And maybe they're ready for it. And sometimes, yes, you know, and something that's just coming to me is that, you know, you don't know what you don't know. And sometimes the old way of doing things is that, you know, we might say, well, I had that trauma, I had this, and this is happening, and that is happening. But actually, we don't know where that frequency originally came from. We see it playing out in our life, but we don't know where that came from. So maybe stepping into this kind of work allows you to kind of, you know, trust and surrender for the first time. Yeah.
Yeah. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. And I say this frequently, the fact that we're made in the image of God, which is scalar light, the journey has ended. Wherever your journey began, it's ended with scalar light. Because it's universal, it's consciousness. It's a holographic universe, meaning what? Yeah. Relax, everybody. You're there. Yeah. You're there.
But Tom, it doesn't, I mean, the thing is, like, we're living in our world, right? And we are human, right? Well, we're a soul having a human experience, right? And I get that. And that's my life's work as well. So when we look at it, we can go, well, I live in a house, I go to work, I drive a car, my kids, I have 2 teenagers, I take my kids to wherever they're going for home ed and stuff. And that is a physicality of a world that I've created from my frequency, right?
Yes.
So we create our reality, of course. So how can we help people? Let's have a think about this together. How can we help people to think that we are so much more than this physicality, but more than that, no, more than that. How can we step into the remembering of who we truly are as God's source energy without getting wrapped up in, well, we're recording this on the 17th of March, 2022. And unless you've been in a coma for 2 years, you know that there's quite a lot of stuff been going on in the world. And right now there's something going on in Ukraine and Russia and all of this stuff. Yeah. And we're involved, the UK are involved as well. So, how can we help people with that? Because that is a mind direction, isn't it? And brings up the fear and the forgetting of who we are, perhaps.
Well, let me speak in general. That's a great question, though. The physical world is necessary. We all live in this. I'm flesh and bone like everybody else. But what am I saying? The physical world is not the end all. It's just it's the result. It's the effect. There's a much higher calling, a spiritual calling. If you believe in prayer or intuition or intention or good and positive thoughts, that's just as real, if not more real than the physical world. It is our intention, it's our prayer that sets up, that establishes our environment. And I would say this: if we had 7.9 billion people in the world thinking positive thoughts and praying, the physical world would change significantly. Our geopolitical landscape would change significantly. So
we see that. We do see that, Tom. We see the Schumann resonance. When we look at the Schumann resonance of the earth, we can see at certain times, I did a big peace thing recently, a global peace event. Many people doing global peace events all over the world. And we watch and see what happens, and the times of astrology as well. Like I'm an astrologer and I look at what's going on. We're coming up to a massive full moon tomorrow. And this is like the culminations and the endings of something, so we're watching and seeing how the universe plays that out. Definitely.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. So this is, if you will, an admonition, and this is just encouragement to everybody. Keep praying, think positive thoughts. You've heard so many health coaches, you've heard so many life coaches say, think well, have positive thoughts, keep your life simple, be goal-oriented. All of those things work because you lend yourself to the realm of consciousness, which is order. Consciousness is perfection. Consciousness has a logic to it. And when we work with consciousness in that logical fashion, everything follows. Don't contradict consciousness. Don't contradict that God's will for you. As long as you work hand in hand with nature, nature will be kind to you.
Yeah, I agree. And on that note, nature is the true nature of who we are. And I live very fortunately and choosingly by the sea. So the sea is just literally over there. I can see it from here. So I choose to be very near nature. That's my choice. But I definitely feel that the more that we are in the sunlight, in nature, with our feet on the ground, in the grass, whatever we've got nearby, even if we live in a big city and we can actually just find that moment to be in nature for 5 minutes, it changes your whole outlook on the world. And exercising in nature is really important as well. So being out in that element. And also you get the answers within from the place of silence, don't you?
Yes, you do. Yeah. Thank you.
We bombard ourselves with, I see all these people with these ear pods in and walking around and not actually in their own consciousness, but actually blinkered by sound, by everything going on.
That's brilliant.
And if we could just come to that place of silence. And I know that meditation sometimes scares people because they think, oh my God, I haven't got time to meditate. And I always say to people, don't sit for 20 minutes and meditate. Don't set yourself up to fail. Just spend 1 minute where you put your hands on your heart, close your eyes and just breathe into your heart and connect with that true starlight scalar energy and that God source energy, because that's who you truly are. Yeah.
That's brilliant. I often say, with our social media deluge, don't let social media, don't let anybody control your mind, your heart, your spirit. Be in control. You have to filter what you see today, and you have to put parameters on that. Don't be overwhelmed with those extraneous messages.
Yeah. And you find as well, that as your frequency shifts, and I just say this to anyone who's listening, even if you feel that you're in a dark place at the moment and it feels really difficult for you, as your frequency gradually and gradually and gradually shifts, you stop actually seeing those things. You make choices where you're not watching the news 24/7, where you're not cluttering up your space with noise, where you take that time for yourself, where you run that Epsom salt bath, where you light a candle. You start to make those choices, and then you start to notice that your world changes.
Yes.
So, Tom,
Brilliant.
thank you so much for sharing your light and being with us on the Spiritual Awakener. It's been enlightening to have your conversation and to hear your take on, who we truly are in the world. And so if you're listening to this, sorry, my love, what would you like to say?
I enjoyed our conversation. Thank you.
Great. So if you're listening to this and you're really drawn to Tom's energy also, but also drawn to giving this scalar light a go, why don't you just pop over to his website, Scalerlight.com, and just check it out and just feel how it feels to you. I always say, put your hands on your heart before you make a decision, because your true heart knows exactly what's right for you. So thank you for listening to the Spiritual Awakening podcast. I've had lots of fun today. I'm looking forward to seeing you on the next episode. And if you haven't heard my spiritual awakening story, where I got woken up in the night, pop over to episode 1, where you hear all about it. Much love for now, and enjoy that light. Enjoy the light that you are. And remember, there's a very important reason why you chose to come at this time.